Well, you know the title, it's Maira and the Jaguar People. It's a film that focuses on Guyanese children. And it will be the first in a series of those 13 films that you've been hearing about, growing up Caribbean. That's the actual title. But Maira and the Jaguar People will be the only film that focuses on the interior of Guyana, which, as we all know, is where our first peoples, and therefore our first children, live. It's a simple story. It's centered on an Amerindian community that I got to know very well and to admire greatly. But what's the film about? It's about a young girl, Maira, and her brother Myroon, who, as a result of a terrifying encounter with the jaguar in the rainforest and at night, they discover for themselves the practical wisdom behind the traditions, the beliefs of their community and their way of life. Now, the rainforest in this film will not be a backdrop. The music of its trees, its rivers, its waterfalls, the bird song of the forest will all play in the film. You know, we as coastlanders, most of us, have our own attitudes and ideas about the interior. But I think that we've been influenced, sometimes without knowing it, by a legend about our interior that has been both a blessing and a curse. I'm talking about the legend of El Dorado. It has helped to form our concept, the world's concept, of the South American rainforest and our interior. Okay, a few facts. Guyana lies in one of the planet's oldest geological formations, the 2 billion year old Guyana Shield. We share the world's most extensive primal forests, which contain half of all the species of plant and animal life in the world. Guyana is also considered to be the location of the fabled city of gold, El Dorado. Now, we're all familiar with that name. A utopia, a world of natural beauty, wealth, happiness, dreams coming true, and so on. In coastal Guyana, the name appears frequently. You don't see it very much. There's an El Dorado village on the East Coast, a travel agency, an El Dorado hotel, an El Dorado magazine, and most impressively, the now legendary international award-winning rums produced by Dorado Distillers Limited. But the name is found everywhere. There was a 15th century city in Andhra Pradesh near Hyderabad, famous for its diamonds, called Golconda, the El Dorado of India. There's a youth theatre company in Haiti set up by film director Raoul Peck, a former Haitian Minister of Culture, called the El Dorado Theatre. Its major aim is to help foster a sense of community in young Haitians. Now, the Guyana School of Drama and Theatre Arts, recently opened by our Minister of Culture, could, I believe, have a similar effect on our youth, which for the Haitians was to encourage them in that sense of being Haitian and being a community. Now, the legend of El Dorado came out of a factual event. You probably know the Golden Man is really an interpretation of the Spanish El Dorado, the gilded man, an ancient Colombian Amerindian community ceremony for installing their new caciques. It had to do with putting oil on the cacique and sprinkling him with gold powder and so on. But that ceremony became, well, it morphed into a fabulous city of gold called Manoa, hidden somewhere in the Guyana forest. Joe Singh, whose knowledge of the interior is legendary, once showed me on his wall map exactly where Manoa is, the city that became known as El Dorado. References to El Dorado appear in world literature. Milton both refer to El Dorado. Milton actually includes a reference to its inhabitants as the sons of Gerayan, meaning Guyana. And we all know Sir Walter Raleigh's fruitless search for the Golden City he believed existed in what he called the rich and beautiful empire of Guyana. Today, that dream of a Guyanese El Dorado in the interior persists. It doesn't require actual evidence. It exists in our consciousness. It's a landscape of dreams. As Mark McQuarrie puts it in a poem called Heartland, that is the central spider in our web of dreams that weaves the net of El Dorado. Now, I've read Joe's illuminating book on growing up in British Guyana and found myself moved and uplifted by it, especially by his discovery as a teenager of the beauty and power of the interior. Now, that was also my experience as a teenager, and it was the point at which my own life in the arts began. Like many of us older Guyanese, I grew up in colonial BG, largely ignorant about the interior. But there was a kind of tradition then as now in the Caribbean region of seeing Guyana as a fabulous but problematical country. The past and present difficulties of our cooperative Republic of Guyana, for instance, still appear to most observers as not only unfortunate but anomalous, a peculiarly Guyanese problem. Now, how can a land so rich in potential ever be economically or socially depressed? In fact, Guyana still remains a contradictory landscape even to those of us who live here. Now, history may explain some of those contradictions. We all know the country suffered Dutch, French, and British occupation. The capital was first called Stabroek, then Le Nouveau-Ville, then Georgetown as it changed hands. You know, place names like family names still reflect this polyglot historical inheritance. Le Repentir, Mon Repos, Plaisance, Better Verwachting, Valslust, Onderneming, Met en Meer Zorg, Queenstown, Buxton, Bachelor's Adventure. But these are the names of historical conquest. They're coastal names. Look at the map. Those names are dwarfed by the sheer weight of Aboriginal names, mostly in the interior 90% of the country. And they serve as a constant reminder of earlier, deeper roots. Mazaruni, Kurupung, Matumari, Hosororo, Mbaimadai, Pomorun, Ayangana, Guyana. But fortunately, there is a growing awareness among coastlanders, and Iukrama plays an important role here, that there is indeed something special about our interior that needs to be preserved. Something more precious than gold or diamonds